how do I increase their variety when they only stick with those 2 to 3 foods?
Okay, that's a great question. And I do hear that all the time. My child only eats 5 things or 10 things. My first question to parents is, are you serving more than those 5 to 10 things? So often, as a mom, I understand that sometimes it's those foods that we serve our kids that we know are a sure thing. Sometimes we get into a rut where we're only serving foods we know our kids will like and we know our kids will eat, and those foods are our child's favorite foods. So I always have a conversation with parents to encourage them to start serving one new food per meal, for example, just to get our kids used to seeing something new on their plate. So it's not such a shock when we do put something new on their plate and they say, "What is this? I don't want to eat it. I don't eat that. Don't put that near me." So it's increasing their comfort level with seeing new foods around them. I also assess, are parents eating with their kids? Are their kids seeing different foods? Are kids smelling different foods? The sensory aspect is also very important. So, seeing new foods, smelling new foods, watching family members enjoying different foods that they may not be eating. So, it really starts with the food environment at home. And I often ask, how often are you offering new foods? And offering might be putting that food on a plate in front of their child. Maybe their child isn't ready for that new food on their plate yet, but it's in front of them. So that's where they can start. Have your child get used to some new foods being offered. In terms of giving choices at a meal, often we're in the kitchen and we're yelling, "What do you want for dinner? What do you want for snack?" That open ended question can leave parents feeling really frustrated because we might hear something that we don't want to hear. We will likely get the same response every single time, "Oh, I want pizza," or they're just going to ask for their favorites. So often, in terms of choice, I always encourage parents to take charge of the menu, take charge of deciding what they're going to offer. If they want to give their kids choice within that, that's fine. Sometimes choice can be very overwhelming for picky eaters. So if a parent asks, "We're having chicken tonight, do you want mac and cheese or rice," for example, those options may be overwhelming. So it really depends on the child, but I always encourage parents to say, "Okay, tonight, this is what we're having." They're always encouraged to offer an accepted food at each meal. So there is something for their child to eat at that meal. But all in all, it really is the parent's decision to decide what they're serving, to offer a variety, and to make sure that there's something that their picky eater is comfortable with, has eaten at least a portion of before, and will accept it about 75% of the time that it's offered.
I really like your tip for how we should respond as clinicians when the parent says, "My child only eats 2 to 3 foods." Because as a clinician, when you get that question, you kind of have so many things in your mind rolling around, and you're like, "I don't even know where to take this and like how to follow up." And sometimes it's easy to just be like, "Oh, it's okay. They'll grow out of it." And that's like the worst thing to say. So I love that you had said, "Well, are you offering more than those 2 to 3 foods?" Because that's a really good follow up question to kind of get them thinking, "Oh, you know what? I'm not." And right there, that's kind of where you can stop with your recommendations of like, okay, this is step one. Let's just start to offer something new. And you maybe even just pick one meal at breakfast instead of always saying, here's cereal. Let's try to, switch it up and try to offer some eggs or something different. So I think that's a really, really good place to start. And I'm really thankful for that piece of advice.